I am my ancestors' wildest dream and worst nightmare all at once. Black, white, and red intertwine in a dance of chaos and grace. The manifestation of colonization in my body and the resistance of colonization in my spirit. Inside my DNA flows a complex history of struggle, pain, and beauty. Stolen bodies, stolen land, and their thief all live within me. My name is Kameryn Point. I am a point on each end of the triangular trade. My people come from the shores of West Africa, Benin, and Togo. Of Turtle Island, now known as America, Waccamaw and Lumbee Siouan. Of Great Britain, Scottish, and Irish. And I was born and raised in Virginia, ground zero of the American experiment. I have always felt the colonial conflict within me and how I viewed myself, my value, and worth. When it came to my identity, whiteness was the easiest to accept. After all, America was built on the idea of white exceptionalism, and society still holds this to be true. Not blatantly through stark images of chattel slavery or lynchings, but more covertly through things such as media and policy. Seeds of white supremacy still being watered, simply blooming into a different form. For me, that seed blooms steadily in the form of internalized oppression. Our society told me that Black was ugly, and I started to listen. At an early age, my concept of beauty was conceived from images of fair Disney princesses with flowing hair. As a child, I would beg my mother to allow me to relax my hair, chemically forcing the kinky Black texture away. Our society told me that Black was inferior, and I started to listen. I grew up in Spotsylvania County, where every day we drove on Jefferson Davis Highway and past Robert E. Lee Elementary School. We frequented plantations for school field trips, where we were told how well the slaves were treated and how happy they were. I excitedly showed my mom the Confederate flags hung around the classroom walls my classmates and I colored in 5th grade. I did not understand the horror on her face. Our society told me that Black was unintelligent, and I started to listen. Never having had a single teacher of color my K through 12 experience, intelligence seemed reserved for whiteness. School taught me that Black history was simply slavery, Jim Crow, and then Martin Luther King fixed it all. And when I spoke, people often commented how eloquently I spoke for a Black girl. But no matter how much I tried to assimilate into the mold of whiteness, it became clear that the spoils of white society were not made for me. No matter how adjacent I became to whiteness, I was solely that, adjacent, never fully pure and tainted in the eyes of society with Black and red blood. When I went to college, I decided to major in history, and the way I viewed myself and the world we lived in completely changed. I studied the doctrine of discovery and learned how incorrectly I was taught about Christopher Columbus. I pored over early American primary sources from the start of the colonies to the establishment of this nation, seeing the foundation of white superiority in our American psyche. I read justifications for deeming Black people as 3/5 of a person. On the other hand, I saw Black people who were not subservient, but proudly asserted their Blackness and worth as human beings. I learned for the first time about people like Angela Davis and James Baldwin. I learned about social programs run by the Black Panthers and how they helped the American Indian movement. I felt like I was lied to by the world around me. I felt betrayed that my schooling never lifted up the excellence of people of color or properly called out the systems of oppression that continue today. How can racism be so deeply ingrained in our country's soul for centuries and just simply disappear overnight? It is not gone, but simply disguised in silent systems such as mass incarceration, voter suppression, and gentrification. The aftershocks of colonization are alive and well. I came to FCNL to be a cycle breaker, the cycles that perpetuate the lie of human value based on whiteness. Lobbying for more fair elections, nationwide police reform declares loudly to lawmakers that my Black life and all Black lives matter. It declares that while the original laws of our nation were made by and for white men, it is our responsibility to protect all citizens under law today. We must protect their light within from legislation that downplay their value and attempt to strip them of their humanity. As I learn how harmful policies are made to maintain the status quo, I feel powerful enough to dismantle them, equipped with knowledge and the divine truth that no human has more or less worth than another, despite what society may say. When society speaks, I hear, but I no longer listen. My ancestors' wildest dream and worst nightmare, all at once.